What if I told you that there are 50 products you can preserve today, and they will remain edible for 30 years? While everyone else fights for expired canned goods, you will have a stock of food that literally never spoils. Welcome to the Survival Bunker. Today, we will make a list of supplies for indefinite storage. Products that ignore expiration dates. Most preppers are fascinated by frozen meals with a 25-year shelf life, but nature has already created foods that never spoil. You just need to know which ones and how to store them properly. These 50 products are divided into 3 categories: naturally indefinite, properly processed indefinite, and storage-dependent indefinite. I explored archaeological finds, scientific research on food products, and real storage tests. Some will surprise you, others are survival basics that you are already storing incorrectly. In the end, you will have a shopping list that ensures true food security. The first category is naturally indefinite products. They require minimal processing and storage conditions. The first is honey. Raw, unprocessed honey never spoils. Why? Honey has almost no water content and a very high concentration of sugar. Bacteria and microorganisms cannot survive in such an environment. A low pH level, usually between 3 and 4.5, creates an acidic environment hostile to most pathogens. In addition, bees add the enzyme glucose oxidase, which produces hydrogen peroxide as a natural preservative. Archaeologists have found 3,000-year-old honey in Egyptian tombs that is still completely edible. Store honey in glass containers to avoid chemical reactions and protect it from moisture. Water is honey's only enemy. The second is pure salt. Sodium chloride is chemically stable indefinitely, as it is already in its most stable form. Salt does not support the growth of microorganisms. In fact, it has been used for thousands of years specifically to preserve other products by extracting moisture from them. Bacteria have nothing to feed on, and the ionic structure does not change over time. The only problem you may encounter is clumping due to moisture absorption, which does not affect the safety or usability of the salt. Store salt in moisture-proof containers with a bag of rice to prevent clumping, and your salt will outlast even your great-grandchildren. The third is pure, white sugar. Like honey and salt, the preservation of sugar is explained by its inability to support bacterial growth. The high concentration of sugar creates osmotic pressure, drawing water out of microorganisms and killing them. White sugar was purified to remove all moisture and impurities, leaving pure sucrose crystals. If stored dry, it will never spoil. The key is to prevent moisture. Wet sugar can ferment or grow mold, but dry sugar in an airtight container is essentially immortal. Fourth are dried legumes, beans, lentils, chickpeas. These seeds are created by nature to remain dormant for a long time until conditions become favorable for germination. With proper drying to a moisture level below 10%, there is not enough water in the grains for enzyme activity or microbial growth. The protective shell of seeds prevents the penetration of oxygen and moisture inside. Under storage conditions without oxygen and with proper humidity control, dried beans successfully germinated after 1,500 years of storage in archaeological finds. Use oxygen absorbers and mylar packaging in food containers, and your beans will remain nutritious and edible indefinitely. White rice is in 5th place. Brown rice spoils quickly because it retains the husk containing oils that oxidize over time. White rice has had this husk removed, leaving only the starchy endosperm, which is highly stable against moisture and oxygen. Rice stored in airtight conditions in ancient tombs has been found suitable for consumption after thousands of years. The key to long-term storage is the removal of oxygen and humidity control. Without these two factors, the structure and nutritional content of the rice deteriorate. Oatmeal ranks 6th in oxygen-free conditions. Oats contain oils that can go rancid, but by removing oxygen using vacuum packaging or oxygen absorbers, oxidation cannot occur. The growth structure of oats naturally protects it. In the absence of moisture, there is no path for degradation. Properly stored oatmeal remained edible for decades in controlled tests. Whole wheat grains rank 7th. These are whole grain products with the protective shell preserved by nature for long storage until sowing. The hard outer shell prevents moisture and oxygen from penetrating. Wheat grains can remain viable for over 30 years when stored in cool, dry, oxygen-free conditions. They retain the ability to germinate, meaning they are still alive and nutritious. They can be ground into flour, sprouted for greens, or cooked whole. Dried corn grains rank 8th. Properly dried field corn has a moisture level sufficient to prevent mold growth and insect infestation. The hard outer shell protects the starchy endosperm from environmental effects. Native Americans stored corn in airtight underground pits for many years. Modern storage conditions with oxygen absorbers extend this shelf life indefinitely. Quinoa ranks ninth. This pseudo-grain has a natural bitter coating called saponin that protects it from pests and insects. After proper drying, the structure of quinoa seeds turns out to be surprisingly stable. The content of proteins and fats is higher than that of real grains, but oxidation cannot occur without the removal of oxygen. 10th place is occupied by pearl barley grains. Pearl barley has had its husk and bran removed, leaving a stable, starchy inner layer. As with white rice, removing the outer layers containing oils significantly increases shelf life. In cool, dry, anaerobic conditions, barley remains edible indefinitely. The principle is the same for all grains. Their seeds are designed by nature for prolonged dormancy. Removing moisture prevents the growth of microbes. Remove oxygen to prevent oxidation. Maintain a stable temperature to avoid enzyme activity, and protect from light to prevent nutrient degradation. The second category is processed products with an unlimited shelf life. They require special processing, after which they can be stored indefinitely. The first item is properly dried vegetables. Commercial sublimation freezing removes 99% of moisture, converting ice directly into vapor without passing through a liquid phase. This preserves cellular structure better than traditional drying. With moisture content below 2%, bacteria, yeasts, and molds cannot develop. Enzymatic reactions causing decomposition require water. Without it, vegetables remain in a state of suspended animation. Packaging with oxygen absorbers prevents the oxidation of vitamins and fats. Studies show that properly stored freeze-dried vegetables retain 97% of their nutrients for over 25 years. The second point is dried fruits, without added sugar. Like vegetables, removing water stops all decomposition processes. Natural sugars in fruits are preserved in concentrated form, without added sugar that could ferment, and in the absence of oxygen, these fruits remain stable. The key point is thorough drying. Any remaining moisture becomes a breeding ground for mold. The third item is dried meat, prepared using the correct curing method. Traditional dried meat combines 3 preservation methods: moisture removal through drying, the antimicrobial properties of salt, and sometimes smoking, which adds antimicrobial compounds. When the meat is properly prepared with enough salt and dried to the right level of moisture, it becomes stable for storage. The protein structure is preserved, and bacterial growth is impossible without moisture. The fourth point is hardtack, dry biscuits made from flour and water. These simple crackers were a staple for sailors and soldiers, as they are baked to extremely low moisture content. Their hard, dense structure prevents reabsorption of moisture, keeping it below the threshold for microbial growth. Hardtack can last for decades. Cookies from the Civil War era have been kept in museums and remain technically edible even after more than 150 years. The fifth point includes whole spices like pepper, cloves, and cinnamon sticks. These plant materials are preserved due to their essential oils with antimicrobial properties. Whole spices retain their volatile compounds much longer than ground ones. The cellular structure remains intact, protecting the internal substances from oxidation. In airtight containers, away from light and heat, whole spices retain their potency for decades and remain safe for consumption indefinitely. The sixth point is dried herbs in airtight containers. Like spices, herbs are preserved through natural compounds and low moisture content. The key point is proper drying, to remove moisture while retaining essential oils. Airtight storage prevents reabsorption of moisture and protects volatile compounds from degradation. The seventh item is pure vanilla extract. The alcohol content, usually 35% or higher, acts as a preservative. Alcohol creates an environment where bacteria and mold cannot survive. Vanilla compounds are stabilized in this solution. Over time, the flavor may become milder or, on the contrary, more intense, but vanilla extract never spoils. Some collectors appreciate aged vanilla extract for its developed taste. Number 18 refers to pure spirits with an alcohol content of over 40%. Vodka, rum, whiskey. Alcohol of such concentration has bactericidal properties. Microorganisms cannot survive in such conditions. The distillation process has already removed all impurities and potential contaminants. In hermetically sealed bottles, evaporation is minimal. Spirits do not improve or spoil after bottling. They simply remain stable for an indefinite period. This makes them valuable both for consumption and as a disinfectant or preservative for other products. Number 19 is pure apple cider vinegar. Acetic acid creates a pH level below 3, where virtually no pathogens can survive. Vinegar is already a product of fermentation brought to a state of preservation. Cloudy strands of beneficial bacteria may form in it, but this is harmless and even beneficial. Vinegar preserves itself. Number 20 is baking soda in moisture-proof packaging. Sodium bicarbonate is a simple chemical compound that does not decompose. It can absorb moisture from the air and clump together, but remains chemically stable and functional indefinitely. Number 21 is cornstarch. Pure starch, extracted from corn and dried, is remarkably stable. Without moisture and in cool conditions, it has no way to decompose. The molecular structure of the starch remains unchanged. Keep it dry, and the cornstarch will last indefinitely. Number 22 is the powder from Arrowhead. Like cornstarch, this pure starch extract is chemically stable when stored dry. Indigenous peoples have used Arrowhead for centuries because of its storage properties. Number 23 is pure cocoa powder. When processed without the addition of fats or sugars, cocoa powder proves to be surprisingly stable. Low moisture content and natural antioxidants in cocoa help preserve it. In airtight, cool, and dry packaging, cocoa powder maintains its quality for decades. Number 24. Crystals of instant coffee. The process of sublimation or spray drying removes almost all moisture, leaving concentrated coffee substances. They are chemically stable in the absence of moisture. Although the flavor may diminish over time, the product remains safe and functional indefinitely. Number 25. Tea bags in airtight containers. Tea leaves are preserved through drying and contain natural antioxidants that help prevent degradation. Isolated from moisture, light, and air, tea remains drinkable for decades. Taste may become less vibrant, but safety will not be compromised. Category 3. The shelf life depends on the conditions. These products can last forever under ideal conditions, but will spoil if stored improperly. Number 26. Pasta made from pure durum wheat flour. Dried pasta is just flour and water, shaped and dried. With moisture content below 12%, bacteria and mold cannot develop. Hard wheat creates a dense structure that makes it difficult for pests to penetrate. However, any exposure to moisture can lead to rapid mold growth. Store in completely dry conditions with oxygen absorbers, and the pasta will last indefinitely. Number 27. Instant mashed potatoes, flakes, not granules. These are real potatoes that have been boiled, mashed, and dried. The cellular structure remains preserved in dehydrated form. Add water after years, and you will restore the same cells. The key point is careful drying and storage without oxygen to prevent starch oxidation. Number 28. Dry milk in a nitrogen-filled package. The milk powder is obtained by removing almost all the water from the milk. The vulnerability lies in the fat content. Fats oxidize upon contact with oxygen, leading to a rancid taste. In a package with nitrogen or oxygen absorbers, this oxidation cannot occur. Protein and calcium remain stable for decades. Number 31. Dried eggs. Real whole eggs, dried to remove moisture. The proteins remain intact and nutritious. The problem lies in the fat content of egg yolks, which oxidize without oxygen storage. Properly packaged, powdered eggs can be reconstituted into edible eggs after more than 10 years. Number 30. Powdered cheese. Cheese is already preserved milk. Its further drying and removal of oxygen prolongs the shelf life indefinitely. Proteins and fats are stable without contact with air. Although it is not identical to fresh cheese, it provides the necessary dairy nutritional value. Number 31. Textured plant protein. This is defatted soy flour, processed and dried. With the removal of fats and the absence of moisture, degradation occurs very little. Textured vegetable protein retains its nutritional value for decades with proper storage. Number 33. Vital wheat gluten. This is isolated and dried wheat protein. Essentially, it is pure protein with minimal fat or carbohydrates. When stored dry, the protein structures remain stable for many years. It is used for making seitan and improving the structure of bread. Number 34. Nutritional yeast. These are inactive yeasts, killed by heat so they cannot ferment. They are dried to low moisture content and contain valuable B vitamins in sealed packaging. Nutritional yeast remains nutritious and safe for decades. Number 35. Coconut oil in glass containers. Coconut oil is one of the most stable fats as it is highly saturated. Saturated fats resist oxidation much better than unsaturated ones. In glass containers that prevent chemical leaching and away from heat and light, coconut oil remains usable for over 5 years. Some data suggests that properly stored coconut oil can last for decades. Number 36. Ghee, clarified butter. The purification process removes the milk solids that cause regular butter to spoil. What remains is almost pure oil fat, remarkably stable. Indian families have stored ghee for many years at room temperature. The saturated fat content and the absence of water containing milk proteins make it shelf-stable. Number 36. Quality olive oil in dark glass bottles can be easily stored in cool and dark conditions for 3 to 5 years. Although olive oil cannot be stored indefinitely, its use in a rotational storage system makes it practical for long-term preparation. The antioxidants in olive oil help prevent rancidity. Number 37. Broth cubes or powder. This is essentially concentrated broth with salt as a preservative. The high salt content and low moisture make it shelf-stable. Proteins and flavors are preserved through salting and drying. Number 38 is pure maple syrup. Real maple syrup is concentrated tree sap with a high sugar content. Like honey, the high sugar concentration prevents the growth of microorganisms. When sealed, it lasts indefinitely. Even if mold appears on the open syrup, it can be removed, and the syrup can be boiled for sterilization. Number 39 is molasses. It is a concentrated juice of sugarcane or beets. The high sugar content preserves it due to osmotic pressure. Molasses also contains minerals that remain stable over time. It can crystallize but remains safe and nutritious indefinitely. Number 40. Dried seaweed. The seaweed is naturally salty and dries well. The cellular structure of marine plants differs from that of land plants, and they contain natural compounds that resist decomposition. Dried seaweed provides essential iodine and minerals. When stored dry, they can last for years. Category 4. Amazing products that can surprise you. Number 41. Soy sauce. Traditional fermented soy sauce is preserved due to its salt content, byproducts of fermentation, and sometimes alcohol. The fermentation process creates an acidic environment unfavorable for spoilage microorganisms. Over time, the flavor of soy sauce develops and deepens. In traditional soy sauce production regions, a sauce that is 100 years old is considered premium. Number 42. Clean vanilla pods in alcohol. The vanilla pods contain vanilla and other complex compounds preserved in the alcoholic solution. Alcohol prevents any microbial growth. Over time, the flavor of vanilla continues to develop and intensify.